hit the record button.
Okay. Woo! So that was, hey! So that was the teaser video that managed to capture 1,500 people to register for tonight's event. Hello back home. I believe there's some people in London who stayed up all night. You're crazy, but it's worth it. You are not going to be disappointed. We have got, as you know, the secret that we're going to reveal. We had some great ones that came through when we put the teaser out. One that we especially liked was that we were going to buy Moog. That would have been awesome. But it's really good. We really appreciate all the interaction that you guys have been doing with this, and we're super, super excited to show you what we've been up to back at HQ. So to get in touch tonight, we do have a team of human beings who are sitting over in the corner here at the booth. I can't even begin to tell you how many people are around us in our little space right now. It's quite incredible, so thank you so much. So to get in touch today, please use hashtag the Foundry NAB. I am going to zip it because Philippa and John are going to tell you all about what we've been up to. So over to you guys.
Great, thank you very much, Bex. So hi everyone. I'm John, Product Manager for Nuke at the Foundry. I'm here with Philippa Carroll. She's the Product Marketing Manager for Nuke at the Foundry.
Hello NAB, and hello everyone at home. We're very, very excited to be here with you today.
Absolutely. So we're here to introduce to you a new product, one we're very excited about, and I think one that you'll be really excited about too. So some of you might remember the Foundry Labs tech demo we did last year at NAB, which was taking our timeline application Hero and our compositing application Nuke and kind of mashing them together. So that experiment generated a lot of interest from you guys. So we took that idea, we talked to a lot of people all around the world, and we did a lot of coding to make this idea a reality. So what it is Nuke Studio, and it's a VFX editorial and finishing studio. And, awesome. And it will be coming out later this year.
Okay.
So what we've done, what is Nuke Studio? We've taken the best of two of our most powerful tools, combining those, everything that you love in Nuke, which is full Nuke X, with the conformed shot management, editing, and review capabilities of Hero, and crushed those things together into one product. And we've also added lots of secret sauce tech and special great things that make these two things more than just the sum of their parts.
So Nuke Studio is a new product that sits at the top of our Nuke range. So I like to think of it as being a kind of super Nuke. And for any of you that might be worried that the Nuke and Nuke X that you know today are going away, that's definitely not happening. Nuke Studio sits right at the top, and Nuke and Nuke X are still a very important part of our family. So being a Nuke product, you may be thinking this is just all about compositors. That's actually not the case. So whether or not you're working as a supervisor, a producer, a director, an editor, even a VFX editor, we think that we've got something in Nuke Studio that you'll be really excited about. So before we tell you all about it, we wanted to just kind of take you on a little bit of a walk down memory lane and kind of recap on how we've got here really, and we're just going to talk about the journey a little bit. So today, Nuke is used globally, from everything from high-end film to short form, games, TV, and even design. And really that's as a result of its highly efficient and collaborative and powerful nature. During Nuke's timeline, as I'm sure, or lifetime, as I'm sure you all know, a lot has changed in the industry. Project budgets have fallen, turnaround times have decreased, and complexity has been on the up. Basically, the way of working has really, really changed, and everybody's had to adapt to that. So we found that certainly a lot of the success of Nuke has been because people are working in a more collaborative and distributed fashion. And so the real reason for Nuke's success so far today is that it's evolved on that journey with you. John has certainly taken it on a very merry route of development that I'm going to let him talk to you about.
Yes, it's been a long journey of Nuke back from when it started a digital domain in 1993. And I remember the first version, well, I don't remember, Bill Spitzak, Nuke's creator, told me that one of the first films that Nuke was used on when they had the full GUI was True Lies. Does anyone remember that? Arnold Schwarzenegger, True Lies? Yeah, Nuke composited. It was also used as a principal compositor on Titanic. It won an Academy Award in 2001 for technical achievement. In 2007, when I joined the Foundry with a few other people here that are still around, the Foundry acquired Nuke. We're actually bought by Digital Domain, so we came as part of the Nuke came as part of the package, and we adopted it in 2007. In 2008, we had a massive year. We spent a lot of time working on Nuke in 2007, 2008. We released Nuke 5. We had stereoscopic. We had 64-bit. We had Python. We had Qt. We increased the amount of channels in the multi-channel workflow. So a real step up for Nuke, and something that brought it to everybody out there to use. And it keeps evolving. 2009, we added SDI out for the first time, making this a product that could be used in a viable commercial environment, for instance. In 2010, we added the Nuke X level on top. And this is when we had some great researchers running really great tools internally that we put into Nuke X, so stuff like the camera tracker. Our Academy Award-winning Furnace tools went into Nuke X as well, and a host of other things like your bread and butter keys. We added more keys in there to have all of the industry standard keys in Nuke. And we didn't stop there. God, it's been a long journey. I had no grey hairs when I started. Now I really do. So 6.3, we had a massive year with 6.3. We added a particle system. We added deep compositing. And in fact, deep compositing won another Academy Award. Not us, but the technology won Tech Award this year. So that's in Nuke as well. Planar tracker, denoise. Then it came to 2012, and this is when we first put out our sister application Hero, which was a timeline shot management review system, and that's been really, really successful as well. We added GPU acceleration, we added open file formats like a Lambec. So we just keep adapting, we keep listening to you, and we keep growing the product year on, year out. And that brings us to December of 2013, where we launched Nuke 8, which is our most advanced version of Nuke yet, and I like to think it is the best compositor in the world. And that brings us to the looking glass. What do you call that thing?
Crystal ball.
The crystal ball, the future.
Meant to imply that we've been looking to the future.
We've been looking to the future.
So we have, as John said, since last year, and I guess it spans back a little bit further, but really since last year when we showed you that first very, very early tech demo of just two products kind of working together, we have been on a real journey. We've been around the world. We've kind of spoken to all of our customers, people who are artists, editors, supervisors, people who own studios, creative people that are using Nuke, but also people who aren't yet using Nuke, to really find out what they were looking for from a product like this. And so we found out a lot of things that I wanted to share, and that really, no matter whether or not you were basically getting a project started, leading a team, working on set, doing client attend, finishing, or working solo, there were lots of challenges that were being faced that kind of spanned all of the industries and all of the different job roles. And so some of those things we've kind of set about to try and change. I'm just going to take you through a few so you can see what we're talking about. People came up with things like time is a problem, multiple tools are a problem, collaboration is a problem, sequence management is a problem. There are all kinds of things. I'm sure they probably sound very familiar to everyone here. And so 2 years ago, we made our first inroads into solving some of these problems. That was when we introduced Hero, the app that's the shop management conform and review tool. But since then, the feedback that we had was that you guys really want more. So never one to be put up. Exactly, demanding, but we love it. So what we did, what we really heard, I guess, aside from the challenges, was actually what you would want. So I'm just going to recap on what they are, first of all. So this is what we heard. I really want to stay in Nuke more. I want to have end-to-end control. I want to know my color's always correct. I want to have editorial tools that fit in my pipeline. I want to get real-time playback for clients in Nuke. I want to do fast slap comps on set. I want to share with a team and manage their work and review it in context. I want to be able to jump in and out and actually change what I've done, but also not just my work, the work of my team in one application. I want to be fast and reactive. I just want to finish the thing, was what most people said. So I'm guessing that kind of sounds quite familiar. So what did we do? Well, that's quite simple. We made a new Nuke. So one that puts VFX, editorial, and finishing in a single system, and that's been designed to be simultaneously an all-in-one tool, but also highly collaborative and really powerful in terms of the working in a team that's so important today. And the real reason is because that's the way everyone works these days. That's what's needed. The pressures of budgets and time mean that everything has to be collaborative. You need that all-in-one on your own, but you also need to be able to work with a team. So before we show you exactly how this looks, we're going to give you some headlines of all the cool things that we've put in it.
Cool. So we've got our full online editing toolkit. So whether you're on set, doing your online conform, or bashing out quick edits, Nuke Studio has all the tools you need to get the job done.
We've got real-time timeline effects. So these are Nuke's nodes on the timeline, allowing you to work fast, react, and polish. Basically, you can stack them, you can drag them, you can even clone them. They're all there right in the timeline so that you can work super fast.
We've got a fluid, seamless workflow between the timeline and compositing. So you can flip those timeline effects straight into the node graph. You can copy and paste between the node graph and the timeline. You can edit and render composites straight from the timeline, and you can go backwards and forwards as much as you like.
And yes, that is a full Nuke X. We've cut nothing out. All of the power of our most advanced compositing app, all in there, right in the timeline, accessible just through a simple workspace. And actually, just as well, yes, that does include your 2 free Nuke Assist licenses that come with the Nuke X.
But the real power comes from the collaborative control that's in Nuke Studio. So you can share all your composites with your Nuke team. You can import CG elements. You can iterate on versions. You can annotate. You can make notes. You can play back. You can review. And all of that can be brought back into Nuke Studio at the end to do your final tweaks and change anything at any time.
We've also got 4K real-time playback. So Nuke's never had a problem with this, but this has gone directly in. So basically, it's in-app and through SDI out. So Client Attend with Nuke is now completely taken care of.
We've got intelligent rendering built in. So we know speed is always a thing. You want to have everything done fast, so we built a render farm directly into this product. So it takes full advantage of all the resources on your machine, and if you want it to go faster, you just add extra machines, and it'll use those as well.
Like all of our products, Nuke Studio has a Python heart, is the way I like to think of it. So it's entirely scriptable. So you can put it in your pipeline, collaborate, hook it up to your production tracking systems, whatever you want. All of the control is built in straight out of the box.
And just like the rest of the Nuke family, Nuke runs on all the platforms, Windows, Linux, and Mac equally well. And also there's no hardware locks.
Cool. So that's it. It's really the complete creative package. So one that puts VFX, editorial, finishing into a single studio application where you can work alone just as easily as you can work in a full collaborative Nuke team. So I'm going to let you show everyone what it looks like.
Cool. Can I have the clicker?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do the bit of the demo part and explain what Nuke Studio is, and we're going to spend about 20 minutes on it. So what I'm going to go through is pretty much an ad from start to finish. We're going to start off doing this 45-second spot for a New Zealand milk company. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the role of the visual effects supervisor, and I'm going to start off, I'm going to do the conform, I'm going to fix all the things in the edit. I'm going to actually start compositing as well. I'm going to do some tracking. I'm going to build up a 3D camera track that I can send off to my CG department. I'm going to bring the CG elements back in the timeline and review them. I'm going to start compositing. Then I'm going to realize this job is too much for me, and I need to share it out. So I'm going to share out all my stuff out to my compositing team. They're going to do a load of work on it, make it look all awesome and beautiful. And then I'm going to pull everything back into Nuke Studio at the end. I'm going to review review it. I'm going to make sure everything looks really nice. I'm going to show it in front of my client. I'm going to add some finishing touches, and I'm going to adjust a few little things to make it absolutely perfect and then deliver the job. We can do that in 20 minutes, I hope. So we're going to start off just looking up here in the interface of Nuke Studio. And I've started off, hopefully the mouse is going to start moving in a minute. There we go. I'm going to start off in this workspace that we call the conforming workspace, because this is the first start of our journey. So I'm going to go into our conform workspace. I'm going to bring in an EDL, and we spot multiple different EDL formats. This one's just a .edl, and that's going to bring in our edit from our editorial department. So at the moment, everything's red, means it doesn't know where the source footage is. That's okay. We're going to sort that out in a minute. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring in a MOV sequence, I think it is. And what it is some artwork that we did when we pitched this job. There it is, MOV. So it's showing us kind of what the concept is, and this is how they pitched the job and they won it. So we're going to call it animatic. And we're just going to have a look through the timeline to see what that looks like. So you can see, I was talking about milk before, so they're cows, right? Transparent cows full of milk. Now, I'm pretty sure in New Zealand they don't actually have any transparent cows full of milk. So I'm thinking there might be some CG involved to get this to be real. So now let's do our conform and bring in our source plates. So this was shot with an ARRI camera. There's lots of rules there to control the conform, to decide on which reel names match and so on, but I'm just going to skip over that right now, and it's just going to match everything. So let's just have a look at what we've got. See what we've got there. So we've got lovely green fields. That's looking really nice in New Zealand. Looking really, really nice. And we've got that shot at the end as well. So I wonder if this EDL actually matches what the editor intended. So let's bring in our reference offline into our conform workspace there and set up a wipe so we can just see what's going on. So let's set up a wipe just to compare that. So at the moment I've got a wipe there. I can have a bunch of different modes like side by side and vertical stacking and so on. But in this particular case, I'm just going to do a wipe across there. And let's have a look. Let's hit play and just see what's going on there. So far, so good. Oh, hang on a minute. There's something going on with this one. It looks like there's some timing change going on there, so we're going to have to fix that up. Keep going. Yeah, it's looking all right. Looking okay. Oh, maybe you don't have to do much work here. Oh, hang on a minute. There's another problem. So it's funny that the EDL doesn't actually match the edit. This never happens, does it? Okay, so let's fix the edit first. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm just going to go over to our tools. We've got all these editing tools like slip and slide and roll and ripple and that kind of thing to make sure you're locked into one particular mode. I'm going to use the multi-tool, which allows me to do all of those different motions depending on where I stick my pen. So I fixed that little edit there. This is looking wrong now, so let's just also do a little slide on that as well, just to slip that back. So I'm just doing it with the pen in this demo, but if you really want to get a fine detail, we can hit hotkeys on the keyboard just to nudge these things backwards and forwards as well until we get that lined up. So that's looking good. And now, well, look at that, it's perfect. Now let's see, okay, there's another cut there, so let's just correct that really quickly too. Cool, so we've pretty much done that in a quick minute. That's looking pretty good. So let's just look at that last shot again. So that's got a blue, it's got lots of markers in there. It's also got this bottle in there. But see that bottle? That looks like it's going to be a CG bottle, right? There's all sorts of animation going on or whatever. So we need a clean plate here. So I'm going to bring that in. And this is a great other feature of Nuke Studio, which is this bins thing that we have over here. Really great because you can organize all your media, you can search through all the folders, put everything into the bin, and then tag them and have them be able to be searched and so on. So you can put all your elements that you need for your project in there at the beginning. So there's our clean plate there. What I want to do now is switch from this workspace to more of a editing workspace where we've got our source record window so we can do our insert. And I'm going to set my in and out points on that clip there. And now I've got my source over there. I'm just going to hit the U key, which will insert that guy in. And now we've got that clip replaced. We've got our clean plate into our edit. And I've screwed up here, but that's no problem. We can fix that really quickly by just editing that last bit off there. Cool. So we've done our editorial stuff. It's all looking good. But there were some other problems, weren't there? There was a retime. There was an issue there. We might want to also do some tech grading as well, because we want to make sure everything's balanced before we start compositing on it. So let's switch back to another workspace where we can work on this retime. On that clip. Come on. There we go. Okay, so we've got lots of little workspaces there. I can keep jumping around, but we've got lots of different ones, and you can customize this as well if you've got your own particular layout that you want. Okay, so I'm going to do the retime on this, just give myself a bit more room. And I'm going to click on the little Nuke logo on there, and this is the exciting bit. We've now got some effects we can put directly in the timeline. So what I'm going to do is put our time warp in there, and this is the time warp that you're all familiar with from Nuke, if you use Nuke. But the difference is this one runs in real time on the GPU in the timeline. So I've got that sitting in there. Let's just bring up our curve editor as well, because I know this is a non-linear retime. And we're going to start fixing this up. So I'm going to swap out of this mode into an invert in add. It just makes it much easier to line up things. And then I'm going to start adjusting my frames to try and match that shadow up. So I can just punch in a few numbers here, go up and down until I get that into position. There we go. There we go, matched, looking pretty good. And let's move into the middle and fix up the middle as well. So we can just punch in the numbers up there to get the exact frame that we want to line up, or we could also obviously go into the curve editor there and adjust the curve and tweak it away until we get exactly the right look. I'm going to go to the last frame and fix that as well. You can see there we've got some crazy curve there. I just wanted to show you that because maybe sometimes editorial make things go backwards and all sorts of stuff, but that's not actually what happened here. So I'm just going to delete that key as well out of there so we have this curve. And it's almost linear, but it's not quite. It actually speeds up a bit at the end. So we've matched that guy now, so we're looking good on that. We probably don't need the curve editor anymore, so let's get rid of that. Next thing we might want to do is a bit of color balancing on this. So perhaps we've got, perhaps editorial send us a CDL file, ASC CDL file, or they've sent us a bunch of LUTs that we can apply per shot. We can do that as well. So I'm going to show you the CDL first. So let's just go to our little Nuke menu. This time we're going to add a CDL. We could have added a LUT. That's also in that menu. And we're just going to, before we bring in a CDL file, we'll talk about it, we're just going to go in here and adjust our power and offset and so on, and swap to a workspace where we can review our color. So this is more of a grading workspace where we have our scopes. We can check that we're all in legal limits. We can push and pull those values around until we get everything right. So we can see there we're getting a warning about pushing out of a legal limit. And let's pull ourselves back down and make that nice and legal. So as I said before, we could pull in a file as well. So we've got the option there to read from file, in which case we could pull in a CDL file, and that would pull in those values as well. And this is using OpenColor.io as well. So if you've got OpenColor.io set up, you can put those setups inside here as well. So now what are we going to do? Okay, well, let's do some grading now. We're actually going to add a grade node now on these two shots. And you can see they're from the same scene. So we actually want to play this exactly the same grade to both of them. So what I'm going to do is put a grade node in there. And I'm going to use our color picker to pick our black and white points. Could also use the pixel analyzer panel from Nuke to scrub around to find the average and the highs and the lows as well. This point, I'm actually just going to pick something down the grass and something up in the sky there to get our black and white points. And once we've done that, we actually want to get that guy and we want to apply it to this shot here. But we don't want to just copy and paste it because we want it to always change whenever we move one of the values. We want it to change on every other shot. So what I've done there is actually a clone. You can see a little C there, just like in Nuke. You can clone these timeline effects. So if you change it one place, it changes every other place. So let's just stack some of these as well. So now that we've turned around, we're looking up the sky. It's got a bit too bright, so we're just going to pull it down by adding a grade on top of that cloned grade. So it's just showing you we can stack up these effects. You can have multiple effects working in the timeline, all in real time as well. So another common problem with conform is racking, or when you've got a pan and scan or a push in or something like that. So we've also added the transform in real time on the GPU as well. So we can add a transform in there. We've got our familiar transform jack, and we can just line that up. Everything is keyable. I showed you the curve before for the time warp. All of these things are keyable. So if you had a little dolly or a little push in, a little side-by-side motion that you need to do on that transform, you can just add keys to it, adjust it in the curve editor, adjust it in the dope sheet. So once we've got that, I just want to show you that we can also add effects on top of anything. It doesn't have to be kind of grades on top of each other. It could be anything. So we've added a transform there, put a grade on top of that just to do another black and white point pick. And just show you the color wheels as well, that we can, kind of intuitively change the color. So So I'm pretty happy with that so far. What do you think? Do you think we're going well so far? Okay, yes, okay, good. Okay, so we've done pretty much, I'm pretty happy with this. I think we've done our conform. I think it's looking pretty good. I think we want to move on to maybe the next stage of this, which would be to actually start compositing. And before I do that, what I'm going to do is go into the timeline, and I'm going to rename everything to make it a bit more friendly here in the timeline, because these have all got weird real names and camera names. I'm going to rename those and call it Anchor 45 shot, blah, blah, blah. And this is a completely non-destructive thing. It just makes it much more organized and well, less messy. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to work on this last shot now, and I'm going to actually go in and do some compositing. So what I want to do is switch from the workspace I'm in to more of a compositing layout. And then I want to work on that last shot there, and I want to remove these markers. I want to create a camera so I can send that to CG so they can do their CG milk bottle thing. So I'm going to go in there. Instead of creating one of these effects, I'm going to do create comp. So what that's going to do, if we just click on Create Comp, is going to create a little comp here in the timeline with a little Nuke logo. And if I want to go into the compositing environment, I just double click on it, and now I'm in the full node graph environment. And we've got our shot in there, we've got our node setting up our metadata and so on. So this is our full Nuke X right in our layout here. So let's do some camera tracking. So let's put a 3D camera tracker in there, looking good. Let's, we know this was shot on ARRI, so we know our film back is 16:9, 185, so let's set that up. And let's click on the track button to start tracking this. It takes about 40 seconds to track, but with the magic of video, it will go faster than that. Look at that. Tracked 40 seconds. Look at that. It's beautiful done. Let's have a look. Let's solve this now. And we're getting a solve error of 1.1, which is pretty good, so that's looking good. So what I want to do now is I want to export out that camera. So what I'm actually going to do is pick from my export list. I'm going to build a scene because I'm going to use a 3D scene here. And at this point, I can export that camera as a Lambec to our 3D department. They've got a camera to use. And there we look at in the 3D environment there. Looking good. So now I'm going to just do my marker removal. We'll fast forward a bit. I've set up a bit of a 3D scene there. Great thing about this technique is all I need to do now is just paint the markers out on one frame, just do a bit of a clone here, paint the markers out on one frame. And then because we're projecting through the camera on a card, that will just hold through the whole shot. This is going to be really quickly done. Look at that, holding through the whole shot, looking good. Now we'll go back to the timeline, and you can see immediately this is updated in the cut, and it's all clean. And what's happening in the background here? We've got a little progress bar. So what's happening is in the background, we're now rendering that out so that we can have it in real time in the timeline. Now it's rendering using all the power of my machine right now, but you can easily add more machines and use the power of the render farm that we've got built into this product to make that go really fast. And that's really exciting. We wanted to have a render farm out of the box. You can also hook into your own if you want to, by the way, if you've already got one that you have already. So let's hit play on that, and that's looking all good and dandy. I'm pretty happy with that. So what about if we want to do a few more things? Let's go back in there. What about if we want to put the logo up in the corner there? So we're going to go back into our bin. Remember I told you before we imported all our stuff into the bin, which means all the elements we need for this job are all there, really easy to access. I'm going to pull in our logo up there. There it is, Anchor Milk. And we're going to just comp that into the top of the shot there. Put a transform in, pop it up there. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a really powerful thing about Nuke Studio, which is the versioning. So instead of popping that straight into the timeline as is, I'm going to save that as a new version. And this really shows you the non-linear way that we can kind of show different kind of looks to the client without having to mess around in the timeline. So here we go. I'm going to look at that version, hit one key, and it up-reses to the new version that we just did. But I've still got my old version in there. I can just hit the V key at any time and flick between those two versions really quickly. So this is really great because you can experiment, you can go in different directions, and at any time you can go backwards and forwards between those versions and show your client. Okay, so we're pretty happy now. We've got the camera, we've done that last shot. CG guys have been working away, beavering away, so I want to bring in all their work that they've done. So what I can do is I can select all the items, all the shots that I've got here, and I can use this really powerful feature of Nuke Studio, which is this template system. So the CG guys have been off in their CG applications. I don't know what they do. I don't know about 3D. And they've been following our studio's naming convention. And this is great, because if we build a template, that follows the naming convention, we can automatically import all the files that they render, even though it's done externally. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to pull in all their EXRs, and because it followed the right naming convention, they all came in. And this is customizable by you. So here we are. We've got all our deep cows. These are actually deep EXR files as well, playing in the timeline. How cool is that? And we can look at all the cows there. So let's look at briefly what it's going to look like by just putting us into an over blending mode, and we can just look at what the cows will look like when it's finally composited, roughly. So I can just go into our over mode up there, and now we've got the cows kind of in there. It's looking all right, cows. But I think there's going to be a lot of work to do here. Lots of cows, but they're not looking very sort of integrated. They've got to have grass around their feet. That guy should be behind. So there's lots of stuff we're going to do. So I could have do this whole thing now myself, but I'm going to use the power of my team to really help me here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send them a few signals to make sure they do the right thing. Because my compositing team, they're full of really clever, creative artists, but sometimes they need to be told the really bleeding obvious. Okay, so we're going to select that and we're going to say, you know what? Make sure the cow is behind the pole. Okay? Make sure the cow is behind. You've got to spell it out to them, you know? Make sure we've got a code in our studio. Red means remove. I don't like that tree. Red is remove. Scribble, remove. Okay, they know that. Code red. There's a little thing next to their computer that says the code red is remove and this is that. And they follow that. So you can see there in the timeline, it's added tiny little marks there, which are annotations. So we can add them on any level. We can add them on a clip level or on a sequence level like we're doing here. So imagine I've gone through and marked out every little thing painstakingly because I need to explain everything to them. No, I'm joking. And we want to actually send this out to the team now so they can start work. So I've marked up everything and I want to send it out. So what we can do is a similar thing that we did before with that last shot on the end. We're going to select everything in the timeline and we're going to create comps out of it. And that's going to be their template to start their work. So let's just create comp. And it's going to do the same thing as we did before. We can actually create comps across multiple items if we want. That's what our option is there. But in this case, we want one per shot. So let's press OK. And that's going to bring all our items in there. Looking good. Let's have a look inside one of them just to see what the compositors will see when they start work. Let's look inside the one with the annotations. Come on, my friend. Turn the annotations off just in case. Go inside. Yes. And OK, we're in there. So we've got our cow in there. We've got a collate option that automatically puts the same things named inside the comp. And we've got annotations there. So I can just look around. Compositor can see, oh, yeah, this is looking nice. What do I have to do? Let's have a look. Oh, I better remove that tree. Good. And I better make sure cow goes behind post. Excellent. OK, that's good. But we're still in the Nuke Studio environment, right? So we're in the full Nuke Studio. But what if the rest of our team's just on regular nukes? Well, this is a really powerful part about this. You're not locked into Nuke Studio for this. It's not all locked into the timeline. If we actually look on disk for that item there, it's actually just a Nuke comp on disk. And if we look at our folder structure, we're actually creating folders for each one of those shots on the timeline, and each one of them is created a folder. And if we look inside there, each one of them is creating a Nuke folder, and there's a renders folder with all the renders that background render, and there's also a bunch of scripts. So my artists now can open in an external Nuke. They've got everything there in the timeline. Those soft effects that we did in the timeline appear in their node graph, so you don't have to render to DPXs before they start comping or whatever, and now they can start work directly on those comps. So here they are. Speed comping, go Nuke team. So they're going off. My Nuke team is busy working. They're actually really, really clever, and they're doing some really cool things here with particles and cows and deep stuff to make sure the grass is integrated with the feet of the cows. And look at this, it's amazing. Working with lens flare, got to have a lens flare, so I worked in a lens flare, some cards. Really amazing stuff. So they've been working for a few days, really, to get this comping all in both, I think, Nuke X, this one, but they could have done some work in Nuke. Look at those edges. Look at that edge. Beautiful. OK, so a few days later, a few hours later, no, a few days later. OK, we're back in the timeline. So these guys have been working away outside of this Nuke Studio environment, just in their separate nukes, working on each one of their shots. Great thing about Nuke Studio is we can bring all that stuff back in. So what I'm going to do now is scan for versions. It's going to look on disk for all the new Nuke scripts that are there. We found 34 new versions. They've been busy, those guys. 34 new versions. And just as before, hit the V key, and we can just look at all those different versions that they've been doing. Many different versions. Let's look at this one. Let's check this one, because this is the one where I made the note. Let's make sure they did that right. Let's look through there. Many different versions. Now, did he do it right? Yes. Right, behind the ball. Yeah, boom. Okay. And this one as well. So we're going straight to the end here a few days later, but you can imagine we could be iterating. We could be doing a daily session where we're making notes on it and saying, okay, that's looking pretty good. We may change this one and kind of do a few iterations before we get to the right place. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. We're going to assume here that the final version is the best version. So we're going to up-res everything to the final version in the timeline. So we just go to max version. So now everything is at the final version in the timeline. So that's looking pretty good. I'm happy. So we've got our client in the room now. He's pretty happy. We want to make a few last-minute tweaks on this. So let's just add a new track on the top, because I think this is a little bit dark still. So let's just pull it up a little bit. Let's add a grade on top of that. Let's just go in the entire length of the thing there, and let's just pull that up a little bit. It's looking better. I like it. And now, oh my dear, we're looking up at the sky and it's blowing out again. So let's just use our editing tools to cut that grade. I'm just going to hit the C key, cut, and then delete the grade out of the middle because we don't need that bit. And now that's looking better, yeah. And let's look at the end now. That shot is now blown out as well. So let's actually just disable it, just in case the client wants to see some alternate versions. We can just hit the D key to disable those things. Okay, we're looking pretty good. So I think there's one more thing that we need to do to this. In New Zealand, they're very kind of, they've got a lot of animal rights guys and whatever, and they might not be that happy about us carving the insides out of all these cows and pouring them full of milk and whatever. So we might want to put a little bit of a kind of disclaimer on here. So I'm just going to put our text in and out points, put our text tool down there, and that's going to span the length of that little clip in there. And I'm going to just start typing our little disclaimer in there that no cows were harmed in this commercial. And I'm going to deliberately spell it wrong just to see whether the client notices and if they're paying attention in their review session. I still spelled it wrong. Let's see if they notice, though. All right, so that's looking pretty good. But maybe you want to change the lifetime of this. So you can see it starts there and it stops over here. And we can really easily just pull these things around in real time. At the moment, I'm in my select tool. So that makes sure that I can't screw with the edit. But I can just go and change my tool to the move tool and then just move that guy, make it a bit longer or move it back. No rendering. It just happens on the fly in real time. So I'm pretty happy. I think the client's happy. We're all good. I think we're going to sign this job off. It's all good. We're finished. But actually, during review, the client looked at that first shot and they really like it. Like, I really love the transparent cows there. It's great. But that cow in the middle is not very good, is he? He's not really as transparent as... I'm like, okay, can you remove that cow? Okay, yeah. That's going to be tricky. No, it's not going to be tricky at all. Because what we can do, we've brought everything back in here. We can access any of those comps that anyone has been doing over the lifetime of this project. All we need to do is just the same thing as we did before. We just double click and we go into that comp. And this is someone's done a Nuke X. And we can look at that. We've got deep compositing in there, bunch of nodes. Let's have a look at the cows in 3D. Always got to have a point cloud and demo. And then... And then I knew, the artist knew this might happen, so they've actually set up a deep crop to remove that cow at that length. Let's go to 2D, and if we just activate the deep crop, you can see cow gone. Awesome. And now let's just go back to the timeline and look at this. You can see a little progress bar. It's rendering that frame. And then we should have cow. No cow. Cow is gone. Now all we have to do is click on render, wait for that to render. The power of the farm, it's going to be done in a few minutes. Awesome. So that pretty much wraps up my Nuke Studio demo. So what have we seen? We've seen that I could start as a visual effects supervisor doing the conform really quickly, putting in real-time Nuke nodes in the timeline to correct everything, doing stuff like non-linear retimes, being able to do camera tracking and full Nuke X inside Nuke. At that point, as a single guy, a single kind of supervisor there, I could finish the whole job, but I could go out now and share this with my Nuke team. They can work externally. I can bring it all back in. I can review it. I can make notes on it. And then finally, I can put some finishing touches on it and edit any one of those comps at any time and play it back in real time on SGI. Cool.
Woo!
Thank you. So that's what that is, Nuke Studio. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I really want to thank Assembly, because they supplied all the new comps. They did all the work on this job. It's a real job that was done in New Zealand. And thank you so much, you guys, for supplying us with all this stuff. And thank you. Thank you also to Frank Ruta, the Nuke guru, who also actually did some of the compositing on this, well, a lot of it actually. So he was, thank you very much, Frank, for helping us out there. So before we go and wrap up, I'm just going to show you the final spot as seen on TV, not as butchered by me. Let's just have a look at that.
If milk was meant to see the light, wouldn't cows be see-through? You see, milk was meant to be kept in the dark. Why? Because light ages milk. It takes away the natural goodness and delicious taste. To lock in the goodness and keep your milk tasting as fresh as nature intended, we created the only 100% light-proof milk bottle. How good is Anchor?
Awesome.
So, Nuke Studio, what can't you do? I'm not sure. So you can conform, edit, add effects, play back in 4K, essentially take on a whole project and even sit with a client while you're doing it. So just before we finish up and let you ask questions, we wanted to leave you with some final thoughts from some of the people that have helped us get here today. So we couldn't capture them all, and I just wanted to say thank you. I'm sure many of you are in the audience. Anyone who filled in a survey or met with us personally over the last year, you've all helped feed into this project. So yes, we need to play the next video.
2 clicks.
I think it's amazing. I really do. And it's really very simple to use.
The flexibility is amazing, and that's what you need when you're just trying to get work done and keep in a creative mode.
You pretty much have a sandbox tool for creating, amazing images.
It's what you want. It's what you've always wanted.
When I saw Nuke Studio and all of the amazing new features and the concept of mixing a timeline, a working timeline for conforming and editing, mixed with the amazing power of Nuke X, I was blown away.
I'd have been happy with just adding color correction and repo and titles, but to be able to drop into full Nuke inside of the product, wow, that's a killer app.
It's really nice to be able to stay in one single application because your productivity and speed, right, is greater because you're not having to deal with formats of going outside the application. You're doing everything within.
You need to move things quickly, and so having a streamlined way of doing so gives you that advantage, and also makes it a more creatively fulfilling process.
Nuke Studio is great because it allows you to stay in one space and work on one sequence. You can very easily know where you're at, where your shots are at, and what's going on with it without having to open 5 or 6 different applications.
As a director and a filmmaker, I can trust that Nuke Studio is dealing with my images in the highest fidelity possible.
I can stay with one color space. Not only do I know what I see in Nuke Studio is what my artists are seeing in their shots, but everything stays cohesive and controlled.
Now you have the new soft effects, so on the timeline you can prototype so many ideas so quickly.
Library, timelines, all of that, playback with Nuke, all in one, bang, done.
Collaboration is a big part of filmmaking, not only from the visual effects side, but also from the post-production and editorial side. And Nuke Studio allows you to have kind of this hub.
It's nice that you could take something like Nuke Studio and have multiple people working on it. It's great. to be able to have that flexibility.
What better way to do that when it's in one system, when the person in control can answer any question or show a client anything they want at any moment, to where you have a room full of creative people that can stay in a creative mode.
Filmmakers who use Nuke Studio can actually take their shots on set and immediately start doing kind of temporary work, from green screen comps to straight color grades to full compositing, almost without missing a beat.
The versioning up and versioning down in the timeline is, once again, genius. It's brilliant. And it's so simple, so straightforward. And having all of those options and those versions still there, if a director or client says, I prefer the red grade, where is that? And you can just literally toggle down to it, and instantly it's in the edit.
So it just takes it all into one application, which, lets you be a filmmaker, a director, a creative artist, rather than a technician.
There's less round tripping, there's less having to export and import elements. You can do it instantly, and I think that's definitely the way forward.
I feel like Nuke Studio can be the one application that I go into to do all my editing, to do all my grading, to finish my film.
Right, at last, here we are. We've made it, we've got there.
Why wouldn't you use it? Because it, as I say, it has everything I need in one place.
It's such a Swiss Army knife.
I don't think there's any alternative, really.
I'm actually really, really excited, and I can't wait to get my hands on it.
All right, that was awesome. So we've got a lot of questions. Lucy and I have been sitting with Rachel and a few other people around the corner, just watching the Twitter feeds and watching Facebook, and we've got lots, right, Lucy? I think the beginning, that was really exciting. Lots of people just yes, and
yeah, a lot of excitement.
Yeah,
a lot of excitement on Twitter. Some of it a little bit worryingly exciting.
Can imagine.
Yeah. Just to apologise to a few people, because we had a few problems on the stream at the beginning, but we got you online pretty quick. So I think most people have seen just about everything. I think they lost a couple of seconds, but everyone's really excited. I've got lots of questions. So do you want me to go with them?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go with number one.
How much is it?
Well, that is one of the questions. Do you want that one first?
Yeah, why not?
Exists.
We knew you'd have that one.
How much is
So
it?
the question was, it looks like, so it's like Autodesk Smoke, question mark. Is it as expensive?
So we're still finalising pricing on Nuke Studio, but we're basically looking at making it a reasonable upgrade from Nuke X. And what you can do today is, if you're interested in getting into this workflow, you can get a production collective. So we released one of those products earlier in the year. They're essentially a single seat license of Nuke X and Hero as they are today, but also Modo and Mari for only $9,600. And those will be upgraded to Studio on release automatically at no cost.
Okay. Silence in the room.
That's good, right?
There's a little clap there. There's a clap in the front row. Woo! Okay, next question I've got is, you keep saying runs real time on the GPU. Which GPU?
We're going to have a recommended set of hardware that we recommend to get guaranteed real-time playback, which will be Quadro class NVIDIA cards.
Okay.
It will run on other hardware as well, but we want to, it's important for you guys, for a client to tend to have, a guaranteed thing that's going to play back. So for that, we want you to have a high-end card so we can guarantee it's going to work. It's still going to run on a laptop and stuff like that. Whether we're going to guarantee your playback is exactly right, maybe not, but does that make sense for everyone?
It makes perfect sense to me, John.
Okay.
Hopefully it makes sense to everybody else as well.
Okay.
Next question, quite a lot of people asking, what are the plans for moving more tools from the comp side onto the timeline?
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. It's kind of thing where it's feedback from you guys to tell us which sort of things make more sense. I mean, we don't want to move everything in the timeline because we really believe that node graph environment is the best way to do compositing because it's just much more fluid. And I think everybody who's converted to Nuke from other systems will agree that the node graph is the way to go for that. So it's more stuff that makes sense in the timeline. So, We've had ideas like color matching tool from Nuke would be maybe awesome in the timeline. You could quickly do a color match without having to go into the node graph. That would be really cool. Or maybe like a retime, like a optical flow based retime could be cool. And so there's a few things. Obviously masking could be cool as well.
Okay.
So we're going to explore that with you guys. You can tell us, and we'll build it.
Okay, so I'll give you another question from here before we try and take some questions in the room.
Yeah.
But also, just telling, we've had people online from all over the world, so hello to all of you, and thank you for being awake at ridiculous times of the day, all over the place. We've got people in New Zealand, Israel, the UK, all over the Americas and Latin America, and lots of other places. So thanks for staying up. But yes, and also Brad Peebler, who's watching 10,000 feet in the sky.
Oh, hello, Brad. See you tomorrow.
That was probably our most ambitious streamer. Who knows? If you know differently, then you can tell us on Twitter. So my final question is going to be, do we have a snapshot tool for comparing shots at different times in the sequence?
Snapshot tool for... Yeah, not really, no.
Well, there's an answer, an honest answer.
Okay, people
it's a good
here.
idea, though, on release.
People here. There's a lot of people here, just for you guys. Okay, there is, right, Lars. I'm going to make you come here now. Can I have a microphone? Come around here. Is it on?
Will you be able to pipe in renders from other applications if you use the same naming convention?
Yes, absolutely. Just like I showed you before. So when I brought in all those CG cows, they were all rendered with, I think it was V-Ray or something. I think it might have been V-Ray. So all of those renders, as long as they follow the naming convention, which is a template that you can change. So you set it up the way that you work, and as long as your artists follow that naming convention, you just do the import like I did there, and we'll automatically pull all those renders in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you could work with After Effects or other applications if you wanted to as well.
Okay, am I going to have to do some running? Oh, hello. Right. Can we go this way? Okay.
Legal text, the disclaimers are a big thing in our country, and we need them to be scrolling on field-based. Have we got that?
On field-based?
Yeah, field-based scrolling text.
Yeah, we can definitely animate it, so we can scroll the text like that.
And it's like for PAL, it's interlaced.
Yeah, we don't actually do interlaced right now, so that's
maybe one for the future.
Maybe that could be one for the
Soon,
future too.
Maybe, yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, hello.
No, don't go over there.
Hello. Right, you're coming over here as well.
Come on,
Mike.
Don't be shy.
Come on.
It's my good
he
friend,
said
Mike
to me earlier he
Roney.
wanted to get onto the Foundry stage again, and here he is.
Come on, babes. Here you go.
Never shy of a word,
So
are you, Mike?
I have a bunch of heroes.
Okay.
And we have a bunch of nukes.
This is one for Philippa.
Yeah.
And the question really will be is where will the line be with what's in Hero tomorrow and what's in Hero Studio or Nuke Studio tomorrow, in terms of being able to jump to the node editor for Nuke Studio versus maybe possibly being in the timeline and applying what would be helpful for us inside of Hero, doing like a CDL, some transforms, simple stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something we're still working out right now, Mike. So at the moment, what you see is what you'll get in Nuke Studio, and whether some of that goes into other things as well, is something we will work out.
A lot of the playback improvements that you've seen, if you've got Hero, they are already planned for future releases, so that's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the 4K thing will be in Hero as well.
Lucy's got another one.
I've got several, but I'm being asked, what about the audio editing in Nuke Studio?
Yeah, you can cut audio, but you can't do any effects on it and stuff like that. That's you can do multiple levels and stuff like that, but you can't do compression or add reverb or stuff like that.
Okay, one quick one from the floor. No?
Have we stunned them all?
I think we've got to let the good people over in Europe go to bed. Go get some sleep.
Big thank you for all your nice tweets. Everyone's saying very cool things. Everyone's very excited, John.
Good. Is everyone excited here?
Is everyone excited?
Yeah. Yay.
That's good.
Someone on Twitter has said that you now, John, deserve a beer, apparently.
That is exactly what we're going to do. So people at home, obviously, have a cup of tea or do what you do. People here, stay, please. Okay, well, that is it for tonight. We will have a HD recording of this going up very soon. So if you want to check back, we should be streaming, but we'll have a proper, lovely, beautiful HD recording up soon. So bear with us. Again, apologies to those of you who did have technical problems. So those of you who are watching on video demand, people who've woken up in Europe and seen the news, hello, welcome. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you loved what you saw. Please do keep using the hashtag, the Foundry NAB. We will be live again tomorrow from show floor. We're going to do 4 hours for you. We'll be starting at 10 a.m. PST, finishing up at 2 p.m. That again will be on record. So I just want to say a big thank you as well to everybody who came here tonight. Thanks to you guys. Good night. Goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.